What's up, guys? I'm Jed Abendroth, and this is Big Man Fitness. Man, not a bad week. Not a bad week. Oh, we're gonna fix this thing. There we go. Not a bad week. So, another 3 pounds down. Not major, but hey, we're on track. And there's nothing better than being on track. So, yeah, lost another 3 pounds. Did my blood work. I'm waiting for the results on that. So, I'll share those with you when I get them. You know, the doctor's biggest concern was how high my blood pressure was when I was in the hospital and this few weeks after to make sure it didn't do any damage to my kidneys. So, now I'm waiting on those results. Blood pressure's come down, so that's good. Medicine's working the way it's supposed to, and everything's good on that front. But this week we're talking about sugar. So let's get into it. So first and foremost, I definitely want to say thank you, Miss Kathy. We were at lunch 2 weeks ago. A bunch of us from the neighborhood that I grew up in. And Miss Kathy was some of the kids' mother. Their mother and father came out because, God, Miss Kathy, don't take this the wrong way, but she was kind of like the neighborhood mother. Always looked out for everybody, always kind of took care of everybody. So, obviously, they came out to lunch with us, and it was a great time. But we got talking about how my diet's going, how things are going. And I happened to make the comment, I don't eat fruits because they contain sugar. And she made some very valid points of, well, you might want to look into this because fruits are actually very good for you. And so, that's what I did. And let me tell you, I have a bunch of notes. I definitely, let me bring it up. I definitely took a lot of notes. So we're going to go over some of these notes and just kind of discuss sugar in general, but the differences or the similarities of natural sugars versus added and processed sugars. And that's where this gets pretty deep. Now, as always, I will link in the description below my sources, so you're more than welcome. Go check them out. And you can leave comments. Hey, this is what I took from it. This is what I'm seeing. Or from these other sources, I found this information instead of the information you have provided. Again, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. This isn't what I do for a living. This is strictly found stuff on the internet. Looked like a reputable source. And I read what I read, made some notes off of it. And that's where I'm getting my information from. So, diving into this. Well, is sugar really bad? Or are we just overplaying things? So, from Harvard, I found a nice, kind of, not a very long paper, but a very informational webpage, paper, whatever. So, of course they tied some of this normal stuff, right? Like added sugars are tied to obesity and unhealthy weight gains and things like that, where natural sugars don't have that bad stigma about them. When in reality, a lot of sugars, most sugars, actually, especially natural, contain like a 50-50 ratio of fructose and glucose sugars. And leaning one way or another won't necessarily lead to bad health benefits. Now, one of the main things I took from this Harvard paper was that sugar is probably best limited for most people. Not everybody, but for most people. Limiting your intake of sugar, especially the way our world here, especially in the U.S., everything is so highly processed that sugars are added to like everything. So the more you hold back on sugars, the better it might be for you. So if you can control your sugar intake, then that might be best for you versus, just adding more sugar, like even natural, because there are good micronutrients and good nutrition that comes from eating fruits. Now I'm going to specifically point to fruits, but fruits and vegetables. So that's a lot of the big takeaway I got from the first paper. The second paper was Hopkins Medicine, and they really kind of listed out what kind of sugars there are as far as natural and processed, right? And there's really 5 different types of sugars. There's fructose, galactose, glucose, lactose, and maltose. And from those sugars, the thing that the Hopkins Medicine, paper or whatever you want to call it, really discusses is that, remember, our bodies run on sugars, especially glucose. And what happens is we take in things like carbohydrates, and our bodies break down those carbohydrates into simple glucose sugars. And our muscles, our cells pull that glucose from our bloodstream, because our bodies, we take in that carbohydrates, our bodies break it down, and our cells, like our muscle cells and the stuff like that, pull that glucose from the bloodstream. So it's entering the bloodstream after we digest it, and they're pulling it for energy, basically fuel, to help get through the day. Now, is there a difference between glucose that comes from carbohydrates and naturally occurring or processed glucose? Not really, not from what they're saying. Although there are added benefits, nutrients, micronutrients that come from things like apples, bananas, strawberries, blueberries, and they do carry a lot of added benefits. That sugar is still, sugar. And for many, especially Americans, we don't need the added sugar. Now, is it good to eat fruits for their benefits? Absolutely. But pay attention to how much sugar you're taking in, because companies, a lot of processed food companies, love adding sugar, not just for taste, but for color. For color, bulk, thickness. They're adding sugar for a lot of different reasons, and you may be taking in a lot more sugar than you ever realized. And that's what these papers kind of talk about. And even though processed sugars kind of carry that stigma of weight gain and, unhealthy benefits, it's really both are in that same camp as you can eat 100 apples a day. That's still going to have that same effect as eating 100 Snickers a day. Well, maybe not 100. 20 Snickers a day versus 100 apples. Yeah, you're getting more food, but it's probably the same amount of sugar. And it's going to have the same effect. And that's why these papers literally talk about, artificial sugar is in a way much worse, because it's just sugar. There's no real added benefit, unlike fruits and vegetables, especially fruits, but it's still sugar, and it still is taken in by the bloodstream, and our bodies, we take in too much, and we may not realize, again, this stuff these papers and other sources on the internet are talking about is the processed foods in our processed food industry. Our food industry in the U.S. is horrible, and they're adding sugar to so much. Farmers here in the U.S. get subsidized to grow corn to make high fructose corn syrup. Well, that corn syrup finds its way into literally everything. One of the things I thought was kind of neat, I didn't make a note on it. I found a spot that said that certain things like honey, maple syrup have so many added health benefits. But here in the U.S., a lot of our maple syrup isn't maple syrup, it's high fructose corn syrup. And we gotta be extremely careful with that, because the paper is basically saying they only have to have like a tablespoon of actual maple syrup to say that this is maple syrup, and it's to be able to make those labels that catch our eyes. So being extremely careful and really paying attention to labels and what we're putting in our bodies. That's why I tend to stick to broccoli is my main vegetable. And then there's sometimes I use it's like corn, green beans, peas, and carrots. Carrots have a lot of sugar in them too. It's like a mixture of those, like a medley. Steam fresh bags that I'd use in my lunches and dinners as well. That's about it for vegetables. I don't really eat potatoes. I don't, unless I have fries when we go out to lunch with friends and stuff. But don't really eat potatoes. Cauliflower I do love, but I haven't had it in a while. Just little things like that. So paying attention to the types of sugar and how much sugar we put in our bodies is very important, and that's one of the reasons. I love apples. I love bananas, cherries. Cherries are one of my favorite, I guess, fruits. I just love them, love them, love them, love them. But I don't eat a lot of vegetables. Hardly, maybe only a couple times a year. Or vegetables. Only a couple times a year that I'll eat fruits. And a lot of it is because of sugars. Because I can't control, or I can control, but I can't always discern exactly how much, processed sugar or sugar I'm putting in my body. Because there is so much added sugar that we don't realize is being added to our everyday foods. Because literally everything you get from the grocery store is somewhat processed. And you never know what has been added to it. Now, of course, are they putting a pound of sugar in red meat or chicken breast? Probably not. But those, again, I do eat some carbs, my oatmeal and my rice, and that's turning into sugars in my body as well. So those are those little things that I pay attention to. And although, yes, Miss Kathy made wonderful, great points, and I'm sorry this is a good shout out. This is the type of conversations I like having, because they get me thinking and make me kind of have me go down that rabbit hole. So thank you, Miss Kathy. This has been an eye-opening experience for this. It's just one of those, I'm a big guy, I know, but I do try to pay attention to what I put in my body on a daily basis. I eat plain oatmeal. I don't add anything to it. And it's one of those, the taste, at first I didn't like it. Now I refuse to have it any other way. I've grown on, the taste has grown on me. I love it. And then just plain white jasmine rice. It is, do it in my rice cooker. Boom, it's good to go. Love it. So I've found myself more and more pulled towards plainness. I do need to get into a little more like black coffee. I do add a little bit of sugar to my coffee, a little bit of creamer. But I only have coffee 1, maybe 2 days a week, tops. I've really cut back on my coffee intake. I do love coffee. It's one of those, I do love it, but doesn't mean I have to have it every day. Really been trying to cut back also on my caffeine a little bit. So pulling back some of that stuff and really paying attention to what I put in my body, when I put it in my body, how I put it in my body is, to me, very clutch. And what's really helped with me losing up to 35, almost 36 pounds now. So getting that, I know I'm getting that weird. I hate this part of it, but it's awesome. I feel like I'm getting like a weird, you get used to looking at yourself a certain way. And then when you start losing weight, you're changing, but it's not that I'm skinny. I'm not as fat as I was. I'm not skinny. I'm in that weird middle. Things look weird. So, yeah. But we're getting there. And this is one of those big, I think a good eye-opening conversation a lot of us need to have with ourselves is, are we really paying attention? Yes, we track the food that we eat, but are we truly paying attention to what we're putting in our bodies. So guys and gals, that's what I had for you this week. Again, very eye-opening. So thank you, Ms. Kathy, for getting me kind of going down this path. It's been wonderful, and I can't wait to have more conversations with you. I hope you come out. You and Mike should come out more often when we all get together for lunch or dinner. That was a really good time, really fun time, really great seeing you guys, and that's what I have for you guys this week. So, as always, stay fit, stay healthy. I'll see you soon. Bye.